D&D One. Is this the end of fifth?
Welcome back, everybody, and welcome any new viewers who picked up along the way.
We've seen an uptick in those people.
Yeah, some of the videos have gained traction. For those of you who are not BattleTech fans, don't worry, this is not just going to become the BattleTech channel.
No. As you can clearly see, these are not mecha.
Yes.
These are not mechs.
But for those of you who are tuning in for the BattleTech, there is more BattleTech on the horizon. So we can only do so much at a time. But today, we are going to be talking about the recent announcement of D&D One and what it potentially means for the future of the game. So, I know I looked over the 21 or so page character creation thing.
As did I.
Okay. So, and I watched the overall, like, big D&D Magic the Gathering presentation. I see that there is one just for character creation. I didn't realize there was a separate one. I just read the paper. So, from what I've been told, it seems like it was an hour-long video to talk about 10 minutes worth of stuff. I have no idea who does things like that.
I don't know. Like, that just boggles the mind sometimes.
Yeah, those people in their long videos.
They ramble on.
Yeah.
Get off track. I mean, who are these people?
So, I took a few notes as I was watching the presentation.
I did not.
And well, it's fine. It's not a very lengthy presentation. Just a little bit of background. This is the rambling part. I was at Gen Con whenever they announced 4th edition. I went to the big, extravagant. Here we're rolling it out.
I was not, folks.
And I get a T-shirt and a thumb drive out of the deal. The T-shirt never fit me. They didn't have my size at the time, and the thumb drive is lost to the ages wherever it is.
Hey, you should email Wizards of the Coast and ask for a shirt that fits you now.
Yeah, I should. I might. Or if you're seeing this Wizards of the Coast, hit me up.
I'll take one of those shirts as well, even though it wasn't at Gen Con.
Yeah, we'll all wear them. We got a third guy, too. I'll get his size.
Yeah.
We'll all wear them. We're not above spreading the love.
Yeah, we're not above free shirts.
Yeah. So, the presentation that they rolled out, this is for the 4th edition presentation. Just, like I said, to give some background for why I think what I think about this. A lot of that presentation, and I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. If I can find it, I will link it in the comment. But otherwise, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. A lot of that presentation was, hey, you remember 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition? You remember everything that sucked about them? Yeah, we fixed all those problems. It was definitely a very derogatory presentation about past editions, and kind of left you with a not an overly great impression, in my opinion, of what was coming, because I feel like if you're trying to improve upon what exists, hopefully you appreciate what exists and think it could be better, not think, man, this sucks, we should just make something totally different. And the end product for 4th edition tells me that they thought that, because 4th edition was radically different in a lot of ways. Some ideas weren't terrible, and they've been incorporated in 5th, and some others, could be. It's not a wholly waste of time, but it's not great. So, having said that, there's definitely a whole lot of beating around the bush. This is very obviously either an upgrade to a 5.5, similar to the 3rd to 3.5 transition, or this is 6th edition. I think it's that first one.
Yeah, I get the impression with it being backwards compatible with 5th edition that it's 5.5.
Yeah, they seem to be going out of their way to try to tell you it's not a new edition, which I understand that for PR reasons, because they have had a huge influx of new players for 5th edition, and these people, and presumably some of you watching this, have no idea of the edition wars that you've missed out on.
The loser of those wars is 4th edition, correct?
Seemingly, yes.
I mean, I've heard people say they like 4th edition, but
Yeah, I mean it has its uses.
Yes.
But it is different than the others.
Yes.
And the big winner, at least at the time, was Pathfinder. So anyway, the reason the game is called 5th edition is because it is the 5th iteration. Now there are some splices in there, like 3.5 and
D&D Next.
well, D&D Next is what is essentially 5th edition. That's another thing is they initially started calling 5th edition D&D Next to move away from the edition names. So D&D One is an attempt to move away from those edition numbers and to just kind of update the product as needed. Whereas we all know there's going to be a point where you're going to be able to say this is different from what 5th started as, and we're clearly at a different edition point. Now, is this it? I don't know. The only thing we really have to work with is character creation, and it's not terribly different yet. So it looks more like an update to me.
Yes. I do like some of the character creation stuff they did. Some of the changes I don't agree with.
I'm going to guess that has to do with the natural 1 and the natural 20 on things.
That and one of the feats.
Let's talk about the D20 thing first, because I think we feel the same or feel very similar on this.
All right.
So at the moment in 5th, a natural 20 is an automatic hit in combat.
Yes, and natural 1 on your D20 is an automatic miss in combat.
But it is not an automatic success on a skill check.
It does apply to saving throws as well, though.
Saving throws?
Yes, 1 is automatic failure, 20 is automatic success.
Okay, but the skill checks is kind of is where things have now potentially changed.
Yes.
And again, keep in mind, we are talking about material that's being play tested that they're asking for feedback. So if you view this and feel strongly about any of this, make sure to go to D&D Beyond, sign up for the play test, which you'll get the document that we're talking about, and then give them your feedback. I believe September 1st is when they open the feedback. So presumably we'll have this on YouTube before then, but you'll potentially be seeing this well after the fact.
Well, as of right now, it is the 21st.
Okay, so as long as it doesn't take me 10 days to edit this plus an additional day to put it up, I guess.
Usually it does not.
Yeah,
usually it just takes you till about midnight.
Usually.
Or 2 a.m.
So bear that in mind. So if we say something here and you're like, oh, that cannot stand, tell them. They want to hear it. You might impact things. You might not. And I'll get to that here in a moment, my thoughts on that. But that was the big thing that stood out to me, and the complete moving away from races doing anything to your stats. Like that, it already kind of started, but that's completely divorced now, right?
Yes.
So, and the way the backgrounds work is a little bit different. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so the D20. The other thing is, like I said, I didn't watch the video, and this might have been in the video, but in the document, it only mentions critical hit success
For
player
players.
characters, and even there, I think it was specific weapons and attacks.
Weapons and natural attacks.
Yeah, so
As a person that likes to play rogues and warlocks, I am disappointed.
Yeah, so based on very limited information, it looks like critical hits are going to function a little differently now.
It's just the weapon die that gets doubled now.
Right.
So if you're using a greatsword, roll that 20, still rolling 2d6, you roll 4d6, then everything else you add on.
Right.
If you're a rogue and you're using a short sword, you roll that natural 20, you get 2d6, and then however many sneak attack dice you get, instead of the 1d6 plus sneak attack, then double.
Now, the other thing, and again, I apologize if this is in the video, because again, I didn't realize there was a video for it, but just in the document, it only talks about player characters. And I think some people are jumping to conclusions that this does not apply to NPCs and villains, etc., etc. I'm of the opinion, again, purely opinion, I have to watch the video, but I think people are just taking the fact they're not mentioned and extrapolating that opinion from that. I could be wrong on that. If I am wrong, that's also something I'm against. The villains should be able to get critical hits too, because I think 5th edition is already kind of watered down
and favors the players a lot.
And that will, like, really, you know... So, like I said, we'll have to double check on that. And I'm assuming there will be other playtest documents that actually refer to the NPCs, because we're starting with the player characters. So, anything on that you want to add, Chad?
Well...
Or difference of opinion on any of it? Or
the natural 20 and the natural 1 should not apply to skill checks, in my opinion. I don't care how well you roll, you shouldn't be able to seduce a god with a natural 20.
Yeah.
You try to seduce an elder dragon. Natural 20 might keep you alive, but it's not going to let you seduce them.
Well, I've seen commentary on this, and to me, I do actually agree with Chad's take. I just want to throw out the alternate take I've been seeing.
Success doesn't equal the intent you want?
Well, no. A lot of the people that are defending the choice seem to be going with the idea of, well, if it was impossible, you shouldn't have ever had them roll to begin with. Now, that is going to come down, in my opinion, to your DM style and your player style, because what do your players want? As a player, I would rather be able to try and be told I failed than to just be straight up told, no, that's impossible.
Yes.
Okay? And if I get a 20, I don't, under the current rules, I don't expect that to be an automatic success. If it's not a success with a 20, then I know it was impossible. But real people attempt impossible things all the time.
Yes.
Okay? And that's a trait that people should have.
Their guideline on checks is if it's below a 5, the DC for the check, they just do it.
Right.
If it's above a 30, it's impossible. A rogue with a 20 in dexterity, so plus 5 from stat,
yeah,
then they put expertise into stealth.
Okay.
So say they have proficiency bonus of 5.
Okay.
That's 15 in stealth before they roll.
Right.
Now, if you have a spellcaster in your party, they can cast Pass Without a Trace. That adds 10.
So
you're already at 25.
Right. So what you're saying is that there are ways to get it so that you're almost at 30 before you even roll.
I've rolled over 30 on stealth with a character before.
Right.
Admittedly, the DM was great about that and was like, anything over 30, you're sort of intruding on the realm of the gods.
Yeah.
And he sort of just slipped into the Shadowfell.
Right. So like I said, I think it comes down to your group ultimately.
Yes.
Like, do your players want to know this is impossible, it's pointless for me to roll, or do they want to be able to try even if I, as the DM, know there's no chance of success?
I want to try.
Yeah, I would personally prefer to try. It feels more natural to the game than some voice from beyond saying, no, you can't do that.
I would rather try and roll groveling before an ancient red dragon that's intent on eating me than just be eaten.
Right.
Because with that other one, no matter how slim the chance, there's a chance.
Yeah, and as a DM, in that scenario, if someone rolls a 20, like, I'm going to do something. Like, they might not seduce the red dragon, but that might be the red dragon is amused at your attempts, and it's not going to instantly fry you. You have the floor for 1 minute, mortal. What do you do?
Or they're amused with your attempt and go, I have a job for you. I think you're funny. You got a job. Come on.
Right.
Here's what you're going to do for me now, or you're eaten.
Right.
And then they have the choice. Do it or don't.
Right. So that's, it's going to come down to your group, because I think what could potentially wind up happening is you're going to have players that know this is the rule
and ignore it,
and are going to look at it like you're going to open the floor to, well, what are your actions, and everyone's like, oh, I do a search or something, and it's like within the realm of possibility for some of the characters, but not others.
Yes.
Even if they hit that 20. And they know a 20 is an automatic success. So, but you're going to be telling them don't roll because they can't hit it. So you're sitting there telling them your character's too dumb or whatever to even attempt this.
Wizard and Barbarian trying to do a strength contest of lifting weights.
Right.
Which one should win there?
I mean, the Barbarian should win, but the Wizard knows he could roll a 20 and win.
Yes.
So, and that's where I think you're going to potentially, I could see that being bad. So, again, it comes down to communication with your group and your play style, like everything else in this game. But yeah, that's the one of the big things that stood out with me. Also, moving on to character creation.
Well, one of the other things I noticed and did not like was part of character creation.
The fact that half elves and half orcs as races seem to not exist anymore.
No.
Okay.
It's one of the feats.
Okay.
How they've changed Lucky.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
I like that you get more than 3 points of luck. I like that it's tied with your proficiency bonus because so much other stuff is tied to your proficiency bonus already.
Right.
The issue is the effect when you use a point of luck. Right now, with current 5th edition, you just roll another d20. That means if you have disadvantage, you roll your 2d20, and then you can spend a point of luck, roll a third.
Okay.
And you pick which one you use. So disadvantage turns into super advantage.
Okay.
Which, that's what my group calls it. Super advantage. Because, yes,
apt name.
You have disability, but you're using your luck to twist that disadvantage.
See, folks, this is why even as a DM, I turn to Chad for rules questions a lot. And I was unaware. Like, I would have assumed Lucky works how they're proposing to make it work, actually.
No,
but listening to this,
it's a little overpowered, yes. Can be. But that depends on your party.
I'm assuming there's a limiting factor to how often you can do it or something.
3 points of luck.
Okay, so yeah.
Resets every day. But I prefer that over you can spend it to get advantage or disadvantage. Because if you have...
Give you advantage. Or
give me advantage, give my opponent disadvantage on attacks.
Yeah.
Beforehand, it could be on any d20 roll. Now it's attack rolls.
Yeah. Doesn't it also... What recharges on a critical now? Is that...
Inspiration.
Okay, so inspiration does. Okay.
So, how they've changed it means you could have disadvantage, and then you spend a point of luck. Admittedly, you can have up to 6 points of luck now, which nice. But how advantage and disadvantage works in the game, you're just doing a straight roll at that point, just 1d20, because they cancel each other out.
Right.
Now, if you have advantage and you spend it to try and get advantage even more, you can't because they don't stack.
Okay.
You can either have advantage or have disadvantage or have neither. You cannot have double advantage or double disadvantage.
Yeah, I can see where that would be considered a downgrade then.
Yes.
Because it sounds like you're trading the versatility for the fact you're going to, at a higher level, be able to use it more often.
Yes.
So,
but
although I suppose the flip side is at lower level, you get to use it less often.
Yes. I would rather have it how it is now. No one in my group has used it except for my one character for my buddy's homebrew campaign, who's a halfling built around luck. I say built around luck. He's a rogue. Happy-go-lucky type guy. He's just lucky.
Yeah.
He has the lucky feat. He has bountiful luck where if someone within... one of his allies within 30 feet rolls a 1, they can roll again. So, he's meant to be a wellspring of luck.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't work so well with this new lucky feat.
So, there you go, folks. Lucky, Sounds like a definitive downgrade to me. If you disagree, or if you agree, go ahead and throw it there in the comments. We always love to hear your comments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we love the comments.
So, as I said...
Sorry if that took too long for some people,
no.
but...
No. They love the meandering. I think.
Do we have meandering tags on our videos?
Well, no one's complained about the meandering yet, so I don't know.
If you're the first one to complain, I mean...
we don't have any shorts for our channel yet, so...
Yeah.
Even though everyone tells me that's the key to success. I have no idea what we do shorts for, so...
Here's a mini, folks.
Well,
the end.
I mean, maybe. It's worth investigating. So, by the way, for those of you who don't know, all these minis are from the Fizban's Treasury of Dragons set by WizKids, licensed through Wizards of the Coast, which is why there are all kinds of dragons here and dragon things. That is a dragon abomination.
Dragon flesh abomination.
Yeah, that's like someone that's tried to graft too many dragon parts on them, and now they're like, I think it turns them dumb or something.
He looks dumb.
So, yeah. Basically, too much of being friends with Shao Tucker. For those of you who get that reference.
Grafter.
That is the guy who does that, I believe.
This is just a dragon flesh grafter.
Well, I think
this is the guy that turns into this.
It could be. I don't know.
Because he looks sort of forced, and he looks dumb as well.
Yeah, I mean, I bought them because they look cool, and if I ever have a use for them, it's probably going to be to use for the 3.5 Flesh Grafter Prestige class.
Horde mimics, people.
Yeah, mimics disguised as piles of gold.
That just wait in a dragon's lair for hapless adventurers.
So, anyway.
Presumably.
So, with character creation, though, they have changed. Going into this, there have been half-elves and half-orcs. Half-elves has been a staple for a while, and half-orcs came along a little bit later. Because they didn't want to make orcs a player race for some reason.
And in 3.5, they introduced the ability to just make anything a half.
Right, yeah, there's all kinds of half this and that in 3.5. There's everything in 3.5.
Yes. Why we don't play 3.5? Well, 5th edition's a little easier to get into.
Yeah. So...
and a little easier on the DM, honestly.
It is.
Especially when there's no level adjustments to worry about, Bobbie.
Yeah. So... this, however, looks like they have, as near as I can tell, eliminated the official half-elf and half-orc. And instead, we now have rules for combining any two humanoid races. So you can make your half-elf, you can make your half-orc. Also, as a consequence, orcs, just straight-up orcs, are a player race in this.
Yes.
Loaded with what looks to be some Groomsh-centric propaganda.
With these new rules, Bobbie, you can have a half-halfling.
Because why not? I mean, that's better than 3.5, where I do believe it was possible to have a dragon that was also a half-dragon.
Yes.
Because the way the templates work.
Didn't you tell me that's how you get, like, black and white dragons?
Yeah, I think that's how you were supposed
Red
to
and green.
Yeah, to use
blue and silver.
Where you have two different dragon parents, two different colors of dragon parents. So anyway, the way it works now is you pick which one you're going to get all your stats and everything from.
Well, abilities, not stats.
Abilities, right. And then the other is just kind of there. And
you sort of just mesh and meld the appearance how you want.
Right, you go for the cosmetic appearance, from both.
So you play as a half-human, half-halfling. You are a halfling mechanics-wise, but you're as tall as a human.
Yeah.
There you go, folks.
Or because apparently this is an option now, as a human you can be small.
Yes.
I don't know if that's to be playing a kid or if that's to be playing a small person. I apologize. I do not know what the currently correct terminology there is. I don't.
Neither do I.
I don't mean to offend anyone there because I know they're not halflings because they're in the game, and they're not dwarves because they're in the game. So
it's not gnomes because they're in the game.
Yeah, I might just cut all that. So probably better.
Like I don't know I I think they just did it for you could play a younger character possibly, or as a small person.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's up to whoever's playing out there. I typically play taller characters personally, but
I'm all over the place.
yeah.
I I get an idea and I make the character.
The dwarves do get some little bonuses now.
Blind sense
Uh, yeah, and they get
for 10 minutes a day. I think
they also get one bonus hit point per level because they're sturdy. You know.
one at first level and one every time afterwards. In other words, Bobbie, they have the tough feat naturally.
Yeah.
And then they can take the tough feat.
Yeah, there you go. So
You want to be a hit point monster? There you go.
So yeah, so you have a few twerks like that, but that's gonna you're gonna have to look over. We have what appears to potentially be a either replacement for the Azamar or like an adjacent to the Azamar. They're divine
Ardlings.
lineage. Yeah, Ardlings.
Ardlings, and it's like they're from the celestial realm, so not necessarily just divine.
Right.
They're celestial, and they have animal heads like the Egyptian gods.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other culture that has deities like that.
I mean that's the main one everyone knows anyway. So
Pardon me if I don't know all the religions out there. I know some of them.
So at the very least, in the Forgotten Realms, they would fit right in around Mullerand because of the history there and bringing forth the Egyptians and like there's a lot of
Mullerand was created by gods bringing people from Earth's Egypt in ancient times, wasn't it?
Well, no, it's the Imaskari were masters of portal magic.
Yeah.
And so they brought forth slaves from Egypt to work in the realms, but they had a way to block the Egyptian deities from coming into the realms. And I've never read what actually triggered that to fail, but once it did, Ra and all the others came through with a vengeance and took out their fury on the Imaskari. So the Imaskari, what was left of them, moved underground and became what were known as the Deep Imaskari. They stayed underground for like a couple thousand years. And the people that were on top, up on the surface, were the Egyptians, who became known as the Mullerandi people. And they are the people who inhabit the dominant people who inhabit Thay and I believe Mullerand. And so because of the gods coming through like that, I believe that's one of the areas of the realms there's a lot of Azamar characters already because, they intermingled and they took on human hosts and things like that. So these beings would fit right in that part because there's already the Egyptian motif going on and, plus I believe right next to them is the Beast Lands, which is also where you'd find like the Rakshasas and things like that.
Nice.
Criminally underused villains in the D&D setting, by the way.
Backwards hands.
Yes, tigers with backwards hands, like scheming, immortal.
So does that mean like this, or like
it's,
or like this?
I think it's the thumb is on the inside.
So it's like on the.
I think it's like this. I think it's opposite. I don't think it's the hands face out. I think it's this. The problem is the miniatures do it both ways depending on the miniature, and so does some of the artwork. So I don't know exactly which one is canon on that.
Maybe it just depends on the Rakshasa.
Could be. But yeah, humanoid tigers, shapeshifters, masterminds, love, loot, gold, all that, and they're basically immortal. So
and very vengeful.
Yeah. So yeah. So now the one thing in the announcement was they did announce a tentative release date. Now they said 2024, which obviously there's 365 days in 2024.
There's also 365 days in 2023.
Actually,
24 might have more.
Should be 366 days. I believe 2024 is a leap year, if my mental math is correct on that.
Was it a leap year this year?
2000 was. So, going in fours, it should be.
Yeah.
But although, another little sidetrack here, folks. 2000 was the really odd leap year where you don't skip a day because after they instituted the leap year, they realized that they had slightly overcorrected, and so it's like every 1,000 years, every 2,000 years, you don't take the leap day, and that's what the year 2000 ended up being. Saw a whole video by Neil deGrasse Tyson on it one time. It was fascinating. You should look it up sometime.
I think I will.
But yeah, because I didn't know that. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So anyway, with that tentative release date, though, that does mean that there's a limit to how much playtesting and feedback they're going to take, because they do still have to publish the books somewhere in there.
Yes.
So while they're saying this, and I do think they're being on the up and up, I don't have any reason to really suspect they're not. But just remember, keep that in mind. The later you see stuff, probably the less impact feedback's going to have on it.
Delays can always happen as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a case of some changes early on happen that force structural changes throughout, and they have to get feedback on the later changes, and they might realize, hey, look, this is shaping up to be absolute dynamite, but we need a few more months.
We got this one change that is great. Everyone loves it. If we need to get it in there, that means stop the printing presses and start over.
Yeah, if any of you have dealt with anything from Kickstarter for, say, the last year or two or three.
2, 3, yeah.
You're used to waiting a little bit longer than promised, so just
still waiting on stuff.
yeah, we are.
We'll do 3, 4 years ago, I think.
We'll do a video about that sometime. Like, I actually do want to do some videos on crowdfunding stuff.
Yeah.
So the other big part of all this, though, is the digital tabletop, which
you did jump off of character creation there, Bobbie.
Well,
we did not get to the backgrounds.
Okay. Well, I apologize, Chad.
In 5th edition, your race determines your racial abilities and stat adjustments. Now, with the recent books, they got rid of all the negative stat adjustments. I think they also got rid of sunlight sensitivity.
Well, weren't we down to just 1 or 2 negatives at this point?
It was orcs.
Yeah, it's the intelligence for orcs, right?
Yes, that's what it was.
And I think that's it.
They got rid of it.
Because in 3rd, don't elves have a negative to their constitution?
I think it was strength. No, it was con. Halflings had the -1 to strength.
Right.
Or 2.
Right, because the concept there was humans are like the baseline.
Yep.
And elves, being smaller, more frail, clearly can't take as hard of a hit. You know, halflings being shorter aren't as strong.
Dwarves had it to negative to dex.
Right, and orcs, being bigger than humans, were stronger.
But
dumber. Since Grumsh is more of a god of vengeance than a god of the book, you know, intelligence wasn't highly prized. Now, again, going back to the realms, because that's now the canon setting, you could make the argument that a change did occur at one point because of King Obuld and the Kingdom of Many Arrows.
Yes.
Because there comes a point in the Dritz book where he undergoes a transformation, and he's definitely physically stronger afterwards, but also notably smarter. And that might have been like Grumsh, Grumsh himself isn't an idiot, and might have looked at that as like, I
need someone smart following me.
Maybe there's some changes we could make here, and addition wise, it's just taken this long to catch up.
Yes. But the stat adjustments for this playtest material for 1 D&D has been moved to your background. And there's no set backgrounds, there's suggestions. So what the backgrounds are now is you get a +2 to one stat, +1 to another stat.
Don't you also have the option to go +3 to 1?
No.
Plus 1 to 3 stats?
Not in the playtest material they've released so far.
I'm pretty sure it's in there.
I think it's just +2 and +1.
Well, I'll double check, but I think it is like the last line.
You get 2 skill proficiencies, a tool proficiency, and a language. Oh yeah, no race has a set language. You could be a halfling that doesn't know halfling, an elf that doesn't know elvish, a dwarf that doesn't know dwarvish. But you'll always know common.
Sure.
But
Why not?
so your background takes you can create whatever you want for your background. There's no background feature like the entertainer could get a free room at an inn just for being in the common room for a few hours entertaining people.
So the short version of that is there's a big long list of suggestions, but probably everyone's going to go for the I'll just do it myself.
Yes. And it puts more of a focus on the background. It's the nurture or nature thing. Now, I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. I would need to create a character utilizing it, but since the playtest material came out recently, I have not had that chance. Because I work nights, and when you're sleeping during the day, you have a little bit of trouble. But sounds like it has some promise, because none of the backgrounds in 5th edition ever really jumped out and caught me. Like, I've always gone in and been like, I need this skill and this skill for my character. I need these two tools. Forget an extra language. I'm good. Or something along those lines. I've made a character where he takes 2 languages instead of anything else with his background. So I like the versatility to make your own. I just don't know how I feel about all the stat adjustments being tied to it. Now, I would think another route they could have taken was the +1 stays on race and the +2's to background.
Yeah.
That way, the race you pick, you still get a little bit of a stat bonus. It does show your genetic ancestry, but your background has an impact on you. What you've done for your life has an impact. If you've been a blacksmith's apprentice your entire life, you're going to be stronger or tougher.
Yeah, you would think so.
If you've been a hunter, you're going to have higher dexterity or wisdom. Because survival and such, I do believe, is based off wisdom. Because, yeah. Like, that's...
I would assume it is, just off the top of my head.
And bows are ranged weapons that use dexterity. Like, I could see that being a better way to do it.
Yeah, because I understand why they're trying to move things away from
the race.
From the race.
Like it's what you've done is more impactful than what you are.
Yeah, like I get it, from the meta perspective, and also from the hey, it's a fantasy game,
Be whatever you want.
I don't want to be bogged down by, oh, well, I'd like to play this race, but...
I don't like how they look, and I don't like the stats on them.
But an elf has less constitution. Like, that's a problem. Why is that? But on the other hand, like, I like there to be differences in the choices.
Yes.
And not just, here's my character, here's the skin I'm putting on it. I want that to matter. Okay, and so I have heard a compelling counter argument that obviously these are adventurers, they're cream of the crop for their race and everything. I think you're still like the fact you're the cream of the crop is all the various stat boosts and everything you get along the way.
In the document, it does state that NPCs of the same race won't necessarily have the same abilities. So,
right.
I do think they are trying to put that your characters are the special ones for your race, just from the racial abilities.
Right. Well, I guess...
And then your background furthers it.
Right. I guess where I was going with that was like, okay, say this were back in the 3.5 days where you got all kinds of weird racial adjustments all over the place. Okay, and let's say you're an elf. Okay, well, an elf like level 1 commoner did not roll for their stats. They didn't use point buy. They didn't use the grid. They've just got average or slightly below average stats for everything.
They started at 10 and then you applied the racial adjustments.
Yeah.
So they had like a 12 dex, a 9 con.
Yeah, so you as the adventurer, though, you do those things, but you're still an elf. Like your special part is the point buy, the dice roll, all that, to show that yes, you are above and beyond, but you started off as an elf. Like that's the way I look at it. Now, again, I understand it's a fantasy game. People don't want to be bogged down by that. Totally cool, That's obviously different strokes for different folks and everything. But it does present a different kind of game, and they're definitely moving more towards here's your choices, and then somewhere in there, oh yeah, and my guy looks like this, or woman or whatever, and
which means
that doesn't it doesn't break my enjoyment of the game or anything, but
I can make the joke character.
It's definitely moving in a different direction than where things came from.
I just realized with these new character creation rules, I could make my half Goliath, half halfling human.
Oh my god!
It's a character idea I had. It's human who tells everyone one parent's a Goliath, one parent's a halfling, and they're the in between. Great idea.
Well, I suppose the good news is if we ever get around to making Dark Sun, we have the rules now to make moles. Half human, half dwarf. It's the only setting that I know of where they're kind of common, as in they're acknowledged to exist.
We also very much get cannibalistic halflings at that point.
Oh yeah, Dark Sun's a whole, we'll do a video on it sometime. Like, if they're ever going to bring in the psionic rules, that's why they're going to do it.
That's where they need to do it.
Yeah. So, alright. So, now the digital tabletop. It's built around the Unreal Engine. It looks like the dungeons look, at least in the little blurb they showed.
Yes.
The dungeons look good. The figures look like miniatures. They don't look like... And they said that's an intentional choice because they want it to look like the tabletop and not a video game. And I actually totally understand and mostly agree with that. It's probably going to allow for a little bit greater customization, and again, I get not wanting it to look like a video game because people don't. If people want to sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons as the video game, there's already choices. You don't really need other people
Dragon Age.
You don't really need other people for that. They want to sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons, this game.
Yes,
but in a digital format, presumably because they're spread across the globe.
I can see why they're doing it. Roll20 and other such instruments became really popular during 2020, 2021.
Yes, during our current ongoing crisis.
Yes, and they're seeing that it's popular, so they're trying to move in on it.
Well, I have to assume their ultimate hope is to completely dominate it. Not just move in on it.
Yes, that's probably their end goal is to be the #1 virtual tabletop game.
Which is a big reason why I'm sure, starting with Dragonlance, they're going to sell the books like in bundles. They have the codes to get them, to get everything there too.
But the issue is, I know I prefer to play in person. During the height of the crisis, we played on Skype. My Tuesday group, there's people with younger kids. We didn't want to risk getting anyone sick. We played through Skype. It loses something.
Yeah. I haven't personally played that way. We were going to...
You lose that you're sitting around the table with friends.
Right. We were going to attempt it once or twice in our game when people couldn't make it. We ultimately opted not to even try it.
Yes.
But I just know from me trying to watch Critical Role, and again, this isn't me putting down Critical Role, this is a personal preference thing, I have a hard time getting into it.
Well, it's also, even in Critical Role, there's been a few episodes in the first season, at the very least, that I watched, where people had to Zoom or Skype in.
Yeah.
And it just felt like they were detached a little bit.
Yeah.
Not from me, but from the rest of the players.
Yeah.
So...
And I don't want this to all sound like, oh, listen to this grownard going on about the good old days. No.
I've toyed with the idea of setting up a monitor for battle mats. You just get a TV monitor, lay it on its back, prop it up to where it's flat,
Yeah.
and then hook a computer up, laptop, tablet that has your map and screen share it out. I've thought about that.
Yeah.
I think
I've seen some of the setups that look pretty impressive.
think some of it, what they're thinking is they can do it that way with the map, with their dungeon setup and all. But I'd rather have it 3D in front of me.
Well, I know,
I like the ability to
yeah.
actually touch the mini.
I vastly prefer 3-dimensional. That's why I've sunk an ungodly amount of money into Dwarf and Forge terrain.
I like the ability to pick up my mini and physically move it where I want, instead of just tell the DM and then the DM or whoever moves the character on the screen.
Right.
Now, I can see the virtual part because even in person, most of my Tuesday group uses D&D Beyond.
Well, yeah.
There's one guy who uses it to make his character and then prints off the sheet.
Yeah, like, understand that what we're saying, well, at least I'm not, I don't think Chad is either. We're not putting down the utility of D&D Beyond.
No, I'm not putting down the virtual tabletop either.
Like the utility of just the D&D Beyond part is astounding. I use it all the time to keep track of my monster stats and everything. It's way easier than having a stack of books over here. To have them all right there, and I pre-build the challenges beforehand if I have the time, or at least I try to keep them up here, and I just have to search real quick. But
yep.
It's all right there, and especially character creation is very quick if you know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, if you know what you're looking for, you can boom race, boom skills, boom stats, class, everything.
But no, as far as the tabletop. One thing that immediately springs to mind for me is, and this is the kind of thing we cover if we're doing videos on crowdfunding stuff, there's a bunch of third-party material for 5th edition at this point, and starting probably 2 years ago, I started to notice several of these books were starting to be sold with the option to have the stuff loaded onto Roll20 and what's the other
VTT, virtual
VTT.
tabletop,
and that was an option as a bonus thing in the Kickstarter campaign. And now with this coming along, I'm kind of wondering like what's going to happen there, because I'm assuming, this is purely an assumption, that Wizards of the Coast is not going to be cool with people just loading third-party stuff into that. I could be wrong. There might be a small fee or something. Like maybe they are totally open to the idea. But I think very much like the open gaming license, which is a marvel, but is ultimately a really long play to get everyone to buy the core books. Because if everyone's making material for the setting, for the game, then everyone needs the core books.
Yes.
Which, again, that's the cynical side, but that is what it is. That's pure speculation on my part as far as I don't think they'll be cool with it, but maybe they will.
Who knows? It's possible. It's I don't know. They might not.
Yeah.
I mean, they already have homebrew on D&D Beyond, so
right. But this is. In my mind, this is a little beyond, no pun intended, a little beyond that.
Another issue is, like, with the virtual tabletop, there are people who order custom minis. Like Hero Forge.
Yeah.
I sometimes get on there and just make minis. I don't order them or anything, I just make them. I do have some ordered. I need to print one and paint the other. But how are you going to get that mini done and then get them on the virtual tabletop that Wizards of the Coast is making?
Right. Well,
is there going to be a 3D import file, sort of? Will Wizards of the Coast one automatically translate an STL file into their 3D file, or does whoever's making the 3D file for printing have to make an option that it's just going to be imported into a program?
Well, and I'm asking because I don't know. Let's say right now you wanted to do that with Roll20. Can you do that?
Roll20, I believe,
Or
uses
virtual, like,
tokens, not minis.
Okay. What about like virtual tabletop?
I think it's the same way.
Okay.
I think they're both
so it's a
top-down
so it's a moot
tokens.
point either way. Okay.
Yes. I've not used either, so I can't say for certain. If one of you guys have, let us know in the comments. I like being right. I also like when I am corrected on being wrong.
Everyone likes being right.
Yes,
But
not everyone likes being wrong, but I like being corrected. Let's put it that way.
But to your point, it does raise kind of another question. At the moment, WizKids makes these fabulous miniatures you see here in front of you. Now, I assume
They also have frameworks.
Yeah.
Customizable minis that are like, come on a sprue like you'd get Warhammer 40k minis.
Now, I am under the assumption that Wizards of the Coast isn't going to do something so suicidal as to be like, digital only, 2025, or something like that. I think that'll be.
No, they'd give it 2026.
Yeah, that's insane. I just don't think anyone there is actually going to attempt that. So, but it does leave the question of, since WizKids made these miniatures, do they have an obligation of some type, presumably in their contract if they do, to turn over the 3D renderings of these to Wizards of the Coast to implement in their game, the tabletop? Or is Wizards of the Coast going to be making them themselves? Or is Wizards of the Coast going to... are they going to hire on WizKids, because they already do it, to make new ones? Or like how's this going to work?
I have a thought, Bobbie.
Yeah.
You have plenty of room under here.
Yeah.
Maybe not on the smaller ones.
Sure.
But you could somehow put a code, or in the box put a code with the mini that you're getting that lets you unlock it in the virtual tabletop. I could see that being done.
That's actually that would be a rather elegant solution, actually, because my other point was going to be, if I'm buying the physical versions, do I have to buy
the digital
the
separate?
Like, do they come with a book? Like, how's that going to work exactly?
I would do it where you could buy the digital one. Like, here's the entire set for like $25, $30, or 50, something like that. But then you could also just go buy the boosters and you get codes to unlock them for free.
Yeah.
Well, not free. It's going to be part of the cost of getting the mini, but you know what I mean, folks.
Yeah, that would be an interesting way of doing it.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily put the code on the bottom of it, because then you got to have the same code for each one. And then you're just going to repository codes online somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
that does happen, folks. It's the legality and moral stuff there is up for debate.
Yeah. There's a whole trove of ideas out there if one knows where to look. But yeah, I don't know how they do that, and I don't know what you do about existing miniatures. Like, obviously, what am I supposed to take a picture of this and with a picture of the like the Indianapolis Star with the current date and my face next to it to show that I own this one right here and now?
No.
Like I'm assuming like these will come with whatever book they come in.
Hopefully. But there's another idea. You buy the book, and there's a code that unlocks every monster in the book.
Yeah, I would imagine that's what they're going to do. But, we'll see on that.
Yeah.
So, one of the only things that gives me pause in this whole initiative, aside from the fact I'm not overly interested in the digital tabletop as it stands, I prefer playing in person like Chad said, Wizards of the Coast attempted a digital initiative of sorts back in 4th edition known as Gleemax.
I've never really heard of this, Bobbie.
Yeah, I don't remember what all it involved. I just remember it didn't work.
Did not work.
It involved, Gleemax was a big green floating ball of protoplasm with a face, if I recall correctly, and I want to say there was an attempt at a digital tabletop involved in this somehow, but I could be wrong. I think that was definitely like they way overpromised and never came close to delivering. So that gives me pause because I don't want to don't want to trash talk Wizards of the Coast, but they have lofty ambitions sometimes and more earthly results. Like I'm the game as it stands is good. Fourth edition had its high points. Third was good. What they put out is not a terrible product most of the time.
Nope.
But there are some things like that they reach for the stars and they don't even make it out of orbit. And at the end of the day, you're never going to reach the stars if you don't reach for them. So more power to them.
Here's a question about this virtual tabletop they're making that is a little more puts a thought on the cost of it.
Okay.
What are you going to require to run it? Because
Well,
it looked really beautiful. Really beautiful means higher end graphics card.
yeah.
Higher end graphics card usually means higher price, and you need a higher priced CPU, higher priced motherboard, a higher priced monitor or TV to play it on.
Well, I am not at all up to date on current computer games, but it says it uses the Unreal Engine. So I would say whatever can run the current version of the Unreal Engine should be able to handle this. So, but I don't know, like offhand, what that actually equates to in terms of CPU power and whatnot. So, because again, like I play like SimCity, I don't need.
I'm playing Farming Simulator 22 right now.
I don't need Bitcoin level GPUs to Bitcoin mining level GPUs.
I do.
To this.
For Farming Simulator 22, I do.
Farming Simulator.
I need that dirt on the tractor rendered perfectly. Hey, I even used the real dirt particle mod for when you're driving over the lime or grass or whatever. The particles on the tractor is colored differently.
Well, yeah.
I also have one where I get super strength and can lift full pallets. So
Sure.
I mostly use that for logging.
So anyway,
because longer logs get you more money.
So at the very least, you're not going to. I don't see no way you're going to be able to use your cell phone to do this. So
Mine maybe. Bobbie's not.
I got my doubts there too, but
Mine's newer than yours is.
I'm aware. I'm just saying. Like,
I mean, we're recording on mine right now.
I'm aware, and we're having to back some things up on mine just in case.
We're figuring the settings out with mine.
Because we've had a few technical difficulties.
Nah. The technology worked fine. It was user error.
Well, we'll see. So anyway, I think
We've had to scrap a few videos because the audio got out of sync.
Yeah.
Badly out of sync.
Like, we kept the unboxings because we're not in them much.
Yeah.
So if you've seen some of our unboxings, like, you're not imagining things like the audio and our last BattleTech video. Like, I have a separate recorded audio, which is what I'm doing here. And it took me the better part of an hour to finally get it synced up where I can't tell. I'm sure if you go, you could see it's off just a fraction of a second here, but I couldn't tell, so I consider that good enough. And a lot of other people can't seem to tell because that video is taken off. But
maybe they like that though.
yeah, maybe they want this to look like a Godzilla movie. I mean,
Old Godzilla movie.
yeah, old Godzilla movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
We can arrange that. So anyway, I think that covers the D&D One, which hopefully will not go down. Quick note: that is a terrible name. I don't care what anyone says. It's like the Xbox One.
X-Bone?
Which became known as the X-Bone.
This is just going to be
this is
D and done.
D and done. So yeah, it's a stupid name, and again, this is the kind of thing that I see occasionally from Wizards of the Coast, that like they're trying to ride a trend of some kind, because you see this naming scheme in tech things, and doesn't make any sense there. Like the Xbox One is the third iteration.
Xbox 360.
And then the One, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Xbox One, number one is the third Xbox. So the regular, I just call it the original Xbox, the regular Xbox.
The first Xbox.
First Xbox.
Which gets you slightly confused because first Xbox implies Xbox One.
Right. It's just a dumb naming scheme. But it's all part of this being not 5.5 and not 6th edition.
Yes.
That's why it's called this. At some point, it will become one of those. I can virtually guarantee it.
I think it'll be 5.5 because it'll be backward compatible with 5th edition.
Right.
And that's what they did with 3.5 was everything that came out was backwards compatible with 3rd edition.
Right. And that's how you can tell this is different. Because if it's the same, of course it's compatible. It's the same. But if it's not the same, then you have to worry about compatibility. And if it's not the same, then it's going to have a different name, which means it's a different edition.
Which means people are going to have to buy everything all over again. Might run the newer players off.
Right. I mean, that's, again, for you seasoned veterans, that's why. For you new folks, that's why.
Any of you
that's
guys that play Warhammer 40k, you know the edition wars very well.
Yeah, what are they up to? 9th edition over there?
20th, 50th, something like that.
40,000th?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that's why you play BattleTech, which has been virtually unchanged for the last 4 decades.
Right, they've just given rules clarifications.
Yeah, they did change the land air mechs and a few other things, but by and large, it's the same game that came out in the 80s. So yeah. Anyway, not that we ever have anything to say about BattleTech.
Yeah, I mean, comment stuff.
Yeah, little thing right over here somewhere.
Over my head. Why is it always over my head?
Because it comes over that side of the screen.
Why can't it be over on that side?
I don't control where it pops up. That's YouTube. The little thing pops up and it shoots out check out this video,
Yeah, I've seen them.
So yeah.
I've watched enough YouTubes to know.
Yeah, the tubes. Like the inner tubes that the internet's made out of. It's a series of tubes.
That's a horrible joke.
What? It is.
Yes, it is a horrible joke. I'm glad you see that.
So anyway, on that note, I think that's all we have to say because we really only just have speculation.
We only have that little bit to go off of, and yet we've made this stretch out for over an hour at this point, I think.
Well, I mean, we're speculating.
Yes.
There's stuff to speculate here.
Yes, gave our overall impressions, our likes, dislikes. Oh, we didn't really go over likes.
I mean, I like the fact that it's not probably 6th edition.
I like the fact that halflings now have 30 foot of movement like every other race.
Yeah. Yeah.
5th edition. They're one of the very few small races that have a 25 foot movement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, since at the moment I'm DMing and not playing,
25 foot of movement.
It's hard. I don't see anything here that makes me just jump for joy. I want to see what's going to happen to the NPCs.
I want to know what's going to happen to the monsters.
You're right.
Are they all able to critical hit people, or is it just...
Yeah, these are the kinds of things that I'm going to be looking for. So, I mean, from a DMing...
Also, weapons. What are the changes to weapons?
Yeah, I mean, so from a DMing perspective, I don't have enough to go on here, because, to me, the big thing is the critical, the D20 part, and we haven't seen the weapons. So we don't know.
Maybe we could get a chart for creating our own custom weapons. Here's what damage die it uses. If it uses a certain type of damage die, it can't have these keywords. Yeah. If it uses the 2d6, it can't have versatile. Or not versatile, finesse.
Yeah, I mean, there could be something like that.
Which means I can make a longsword that's finesse.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Because rogues need more weapons, people.
So, anyway, like I said...
They don't. Just play the soul knife. You always have weapons.
I think that's about all we've got on this. Keep an eye out. We are going to try to cover the other part of the announcement that kind of got buried in all this. the upcoming products, which those we know a little bit more about. Well,
should be a shorter video.
Well, one of those we know a little bit more about. The rest, let's just say that we're going to be speculating on approximately 70 seconds worth of video. So, yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in.
Like, subscribe, comment. We love comments. We love likes. We love subscribers.
Yeah.
And return viewers.
Yeah, I mean, this is YouTube. You know how it works. We like all the things. I try to stay on top of the comments. Check the BattleTech videos. You know, I do follow up in the comments. And any kind of constructive criticism is always welcome. I can't stop
any type of deconstructive criticism is welcome because it's still a comment. It is still a comment, folks.
Yeah, I guess we are in a there's no such thing as bad press kind of situation.
And deconstructive criticism will point out flaws we have, which we can work to correct.
Yes.
By the way, one flaw that was pointed out: we're not both in black shirts, folks.
Yes, we have been actively trying to not all wear black shirts all at once. So, even though that's like the vast majority of shirts I own.
It's the vast majority of shirt color I wear during the week.
Yeah. So
let's just put it that way.
Like Chad said, like, share, subscribe, all that. Whatever you feel like, if you just want to comment, great.
If you just want to say hi, I'm sure we'll reply back with hello.
So, anyway, keep an eye out for more D&D related videos, because we are going to be covering, like I said, the other part of the announcement, and we have been trying to do some other videos, like DM tips, and kind of started with some player tips, from a newer player, Brad, who's our third guy, who's not here at the moment.
He's out of town, so he couldn't join us, unfortunately.
Right, but he's not going. Like, we'll definitely be back.
His life's just been busy with life stuff at the moment.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for all that. And if any of you are randomly also BattleTech fans, check the other videos. We've got some stuff that is apparently kind of popular.
Yeah. So. And I'm sure we'll have more BattleTech stuff.
Oh yes, we will. Yes, we will. So there are more products to unbox, slightly older products, because we've covered the newest of the new that's not even out yet.
And maybe some non-Catalyst stuff to show off. We have Ironwind Metal stuff.
Yeah, we do have some Ironwind Metal stuff. I've mentioned I do have the Unseen Plastics, so a comparison video there from the third edition box set.
If we get our arm thing fixed, because we do have another. We're recording on tripod. We have this arm thing that Bobbie bought.
It's missing a piece.
It's missing a piece, so if we could get that working, we might also be able to do painting videos, building videos, and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have high hopes.
Yes,
and hopefully,
our hopes are skyward. Yes. What do you say that Wizards of the Coast has?
I said Wizards of the Coast reaches for the stars.
We're reaching for the stars here, folks.
And sometimes they don't leave the atmosphere.
And we're hoping we leave the atmosphere.
I think we're more reaching for a low branch on the tree, and we're somehow still stumbling. But
no, we're reaching for the stars, people.
No, reaching for the stars is going to be me adding special effects to these videos. I'm still learning on that one. So
we're reaching for the stars. Gotta think long term.
All right, so. Well, speaking of long term, we've got other videos to film, so...
Stay safe out there, folks, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks again.